It begins quietly, a whisper beneath the surface, a low hum that gradually, insidiously overtakes the soundtrack of the world. It is the moment the air thickens, the invisible weight that presses down on the shoulders and settles like cold dust in the lungs. There is no external threat, no tangible danger lurking in the immediate vicinity, yet the body has declared an emergency. The alarm has been pulled, and the relentless, deafening sirens are now the only reality. This is not just worry. This is the physiological certainty of impending doom, delivered directly to the nervous system, bypassing all channels of logic and reason. The chest tightens, a sudden, merciless vice grip that makes deep inhalation seem like an impossible, agonizing effort. The heart, usually a quiet, steady metronome, transforms into a panicked drummer, hammering against the ribs, erratic and frantic, threatening to burst free from its fleshy cage. Look down, and the hands are already betraying the internal state. A slight tremor, a glistening film of cold sweat across the palms. The periphery of vision begins to blur, narrowing the world down to a claustrophobic tunnel of immediate distress, where every light source feels too harsh and every sound is amplified into a jarring intrusion. This is the invasion. This is the moment the nervous system decides it must take over the controls, seizing the cockpit of your consciousness and locking the pilot out. It is a terrifying paradox, to feel intensely present in the physical manifestations of fear, yet completely dissociated from the cognitive understanding of what is happening. The mind races, not towards solutions or calm analysis, but towards disaster scenarios, generating possibilities of ruin with machine gun rapidity. What if I can't breathe? What if this feeling never stops? What if I lose control right here, right now, in this confined space, surrounded by people who seem to possess the effortless calm that now feels utterly unattainable? These questions are not genuine inquiries. They are fuel for the fire, rhetorical accelerants tossed onto the burgeoning flame of panic by the subconscious survival mechanism. This is the central lie of anxiety, the presentation of energy as information. The immense, overwhelming surge of adrenaline, cortisol, and neurochemical warfare is presented to the conscious self not as a simple physiological event, but as irrefutable evidence that something truly terrible is happening or about to happen. Your body is screaming, and because your body is screaming, your mind must desperately invent a monster worthy of that cry. The true monster, of course, is the silence, the void, the lack of a clear target. If there were a lion, you would know what to do, run or fight. But here in this quiet room, under the relentless tyranny of your own biology, the lion is invisible, yet its roar is deafening. Think of the mechanism itself, the relentless looping mechanism that traps so many in this self-sustaining cycle. It begins with a seemingly innocuous trigger, a sudden memory, an email notification, a change in air pressure. This trigger activates the ancient survival center, the amygdala, which operates on milliseconds, far faster than the lumbering speed of the prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason. The amygdala doesn't analyze, it reacts. It remembers the feeling of past threats, not the specifics, and once that primal switch is flipped, the cascade begins. Hormones flood the system, preparing the muscles for maximum effort, a surge of energy designed to save your life. But you don't need to save your life. You need to finish the TPS report, or sit through a mandatory meeting, or simply exist through the quiet hours of the night. The energy meant for a 100-meter dash away from a prehistoric predator is now trapped inside a sedentary frame, with nowhere to dissipate. This trapped, excessive energy must be accounted for, and the brain, dedicated to narrative consistency, quickly fabricates a reason for its presence. If I feel this scared, then I must be in danger of failing, dying, or being fundamentally exposed. The mental narrative justifies the physiological state, locking the door firmly from the inside. We spend so much time battling the narrative, trying to use logic like a flimsy shield against an aerial bombardment. We try to tell ourselves, that is irrational, there is no proof, calm down. And yet the body stubbornly refuses to comply. Why? Because the body does not speak the language of logic in this state. It speaks the language of sensation. Attempting to suppress the racing thoughts through sheer willpower is like trying to hold back the tide with cupped hands. The more pressure you apply to suppress the anxiety, the more resistance the anxiety generates, until the pressure becomes unbearable and the eventual eruption feels even more violent. This futile conflict, the internal civil war between the rational observer and the frightened organism, is the true engine of sustained panic. This is where the pattern interrupt must be introduced, the moment we consider stepping back from the immediate fray, abandoning the sword of logic for the shield of observation. The most difficult, yet most essential realization to grasp in this moment of acute distress is this: the feeling of anxiety, however overwhelming, is fundamentally temporary. It is a wave, a physiological peak and trough, and all waves eventually crest and break. The problem is that when you are submerged beneath the wave, when the water is filling your lungs and the pressure is crushing, the concept of temporary ceases to exist. There is only the eternal agonizing now. We must understand that anxiety loves escalation. It thrives on the feedback loop of self-monitoring. Are my hands still shaking? Yes. Therefore, I am still in danger. Is my breathing shallow? Yes. Therefore, I am suffocating. Every check-in, every fearful self-assessment provides fresh data to the panicking mind, reinforcing the core belief that the situation is deteriorating rather than naturally stabilizing. It is an act of profound, almost impossible bravery to simply allow the symptoms to exist without judgment or intervention, to observe the heart hammering without immediately assigning a catastrophic meaning to every beat. Consider the metaphor of the smoke alarm. Anxiety is fundamentally a highly sensitive, perhaps overly aggressive smoke alarm in the house of your mind. Often it is activated by a burnt piece of toast, a stray cloud of steam, a harmless event, but once activated, it is designed to be loud, piercing, and impossible to ignore. Your impulse is to smash the alarm, to silence the noise immediately. But smashing the alarm, resisting the sensation, only ensures that when the true fire comes, you will be unprepared. The goal is not to destroy the alarm, but to acknowledge the sound, identify that there is no fire, only burnt toast, and allow the mechanism to exhaust itself naturally, which it will, given time. If you are listening to these words right now, immersed in the physical heat and mental chaos of an acute anxiety spike, then you are not weak. You are experiencing the full brute force of human survival machinery, misdirected and overwhelming. The fact that you have the presence of mind, the sheer obstinate willpower to listen and process, signifies a powerful, resilient self that remains operational beneath the surface tremor. This is the self that the anxiety tries to drown out, the calm, observing consciousness that has the potential to merely witness the storm without attempting to steer it. The primary error is treating anxiety as an informational threat that requires a solution. We ask, how do I fix this panic? The panic is not a problem to be solved. It is an experience to be processed. It is a massive kinetic energy that has been summoned, and it requires a pathway out of the system. Trying to solve it cognitively, trying to rationalize it away, is like trying to solve a traffic jam by shouting at the cars. The solution lies not in the mind's ability to argue with itself, but in the body's capacity to process and discharge the excess adrenaline and cortisol. This brings us to the profound revelation that must anchor our transition from panic to management, the absolute necessity of separating the sensation from the story. The sensation is real, the racing heart, the dizziness, the nausea. These are factual physiological events. The story is fiction, the catastrophe, the impending disaster, the fear of losing control forever. The anxiety cannot sustain itself without the story. If you remove the mental narrative, if you refuse to feed the fear with fearful projections, all that remains is pure, raw, temporary physical sensation. And while uncomfortable, physical sensation cannot by itself destroy you. It is merely a feeling, however intense. This separation is the single most powerful tool against acute anxiety, yet it is also the hardest to implement because the fear of the physical symptoms is what drives the mental story. We fear the racing heart, so we invent the story of a heart attack. We fear the dizziness, so we invent the story of fainting or madness. Breaking this loop requires a deliberate, almost defiant decision to step into the immediate experience and declare, I feel my heart racing. That is all. I will not attach a sentence of doom to this beat. To achieve this necessary separation, we must turn our attention away from the abstract, chaotic battlefield of the mind and root ourselves firmly in the immediate, undeniable reality of the physical body. The body is the processing unit, the pathway for the trapped energy. The mind is the deceptive narrator, the unreliable source of information that is actively attempting to sabotage the processing. We must bypass the narrator entirely. If anxiety is hitting right now, if the tide is rising and the internal alarms are screaming at maximum volume, the immediate need is not to quiet the mind, but to anchor the vessel. The mind in this state is hostile territory. The body, however, is a grounded reality that can be accessed immediately. We must find the anchors, physical points of contact, undeniable sensory input that brings the racing consciousness back from the catastrophic future and slams it into the neutral, manageable present moment. This acute feeling, this relentless pressure that convinces you that everything is wrong, is merely trapped kinetic potential. It is energy waiting to be released, and the release must be facilitated through the physical realm, not the cognitive. The body holds the key to the cage that the mind constructed. But knowing where to look is only the first step. The true challenge lies in the disciplined application of techniques that feel fundamentally counterintuitive when every fiber of your being is screaming for escape or distraction. You must move toward the physical sensation, not away from it. You must invite the discomfort rather than fighting it. This shift, from fighting the feeling to processing the energy, is the critical pivot point. It is the moment where the victim begins to reclaim agency. It requires courage, patience, and a fundamental trust in the body's capacity to return to equilibrium, even when that equilibrium feels miles away. The path forward requires practical, actionable techniques that harness the body's own regulatory systems to discharge the massive surge of fear chemistry. We must learn how to manipulate the breath, engage the vagus nerve, and utilize sensory grounding to pull the mind out of the future and into the safety of the present environment. These are not mental tricks. They are physiological tools designed to tell the central nervous system, the threat is over, stand down. If you are experiencing the suffocating grip of panic right now, take a single, slow, deliberate moment. Notice the contact between your body and the surface beneath you. Feel the chair, the floor, the ground. Acknowledge the storm, but do not jump into the sea. Stay anchored. The next necessary step is the practice of deep, counterintuitive regulation. We have established the foundation. The panic is energy, the story is a lie, and the solution lies in the physical body. Now, we must arm ourselves with the specific, powerful techniques needed to manage this energetic discharge and halt the catastrophic feedback loop. Stay present. Stay grounded. The mechanism of relief is about to be revealed, but your commitment to remaining in this moment is essential. Continue listening. This is where the work begins. The air is thick now, not with atmosphere, but with the pure, viscous residue of panic. It clings to the inside of the throat, coating the tongue with a metallic, desperate taste. We stand at the precipice of the internal storm, where the mind, exhausted from fighting the current, recognizes the futility of resistance. This is the moment, the searing point of clarity, where the endless cycle of avoidance snaps. You have tried to run. You have tried to silence the alarm. You have tried to bury the feeling under layers of distraction, obligation, or outright denial. But here, now, in this absolute stillness that precedes the breakdown, the truth emerges. The only way out is through the very center of the fire you are so terrified of entering. This is the second hook, the deepening recognition. That blinding electric spike moving through your chest is not merely an inconvenience. It is an urgent messenger carrying an ancient, vital piece of instruction. It is not the symptom that needs eradication. It is the deep, dark secret that needs illumination. For too long you have treated this anxiety as an invasion, an unwelcome guest demanding eviction. But what if it is, instead, a profoundly lost part of yourself, finally screaming loud enough to be heard above the noise of daily life? The anxiety that grips you right now in this second is not random chaos. It is the highly specialized reaction of a deeply intelligent system that perceives an existential threat, a threat that almost certainly resides not in the external world, but in the internal construction of your reality. Contextualize the battlefield quickly. The setting is internal, but the consequences are entirely physical. Your muscles are coiled, ready to spring into action that never comes, perpetually wound up like a spring that has lost its release mechanism. This constant tension is not merely uncomfortable, it is the corrosive byproduct of refusing to accept the current moment. The conflict has always been this: The present versus the projected future. Anxiety is the catastrophic future projected onto the neutral canvas of the present. And the open loop, the mystery that keeps us trapped, is the fundamental belief that if we worry hard enough, long enough, we can somehow control the uncontrollable. We believe the worrying is productive, a form of necessary vigilance. We believe if we stop worrying, disaster will surely follow. The construction of tension accelerates here, because the moment you stop fighting the feeling seems to grow exponentially larger. When the resistance drops, the full force of the physiological response seems to flood the system. This is the crucial deception of the anxiety mechanism. It is a feedback loop built on escalating avoidance. You fear the feeling, so you resist it. The resistance generates more tension. The increased tension reinforces the original fear. To break the loop, you must do the illogical, the counterintuitive, the terrifying. You must lean into the exact sensation you are desperate to escape. We move into the development, a slow, agonizing process of dismantling the mental fortress. Imagine that the fear currently manifesting is a monstrous shadow creature, looming large in a dimly lit room. As long as you keep your back to it, running blindly, you only hear its echoing steps and feel the chill of its presence, allowing your imagination to inflate its size to mythological proportions. This is avoidance. But what happens if you stop, turn around, and shine a single steady light, the light of radical, non-judgmental awareness, directly onto the creature? The pattern interrupt occurs immediately. The shadow monster, when illuminated, rarely turns out to be a monster at all. It is usually a collection of mundane fears, dressed up in the dark. It is the memory of past pain, the projection of future loss, wrapped around the simple physical sensation of a pounding heart or constricted breath. This is the hard work of observation, feeling the sharp, tearing edges of panic and refusing to call it bad. Instead, labeling it purely descriptively: a tightness in the throat, a rapid flutter in the chest, heat rising on the neck, a rapid thought sequence predicting collapse. This is not passive observation, it is active dissection. You are treating your physical self not as a victim of the mind, but as a neutral laboratory where intense chemical reactions are occurring. You are standing outside the storm, refusing to be carried away by the waves of catastrophic thought. The escalation continues through the recognition of the trap of specificity. Often, anxiety attaches itself to a very specific trigger. I'm worried about the presentation. I'm worried about the bill. I'm worried about the relationship. But if you pull away the superficial layer, you discover that the specific worry is merely a coat rack upon which the true ancient fear hangs. And the true ancient fear is almost always the same. I cannot cope. I am inadequate. I will be abandoned. I will die. The anxiety attack is the raw expression of this core inadequacy, demanding proof of competence that the present moment cannot possibly provide, because the present moment is simply being, not doing or proving. Let us re-engage, grounding ourselves before the final dramatic climb. Take one deep conscious breath, pulling the air low into the diaphragm. You are still here. The panic has not consumed you. The world has not ended. The thoughts are still circulating, perhaps frantically, but they are thoughts, electrical impulses firing in the vast, dark landscape of the brain. They are not reality. They are suggestions. And you, the conscious observer, are the final, definitive editor of those suggestions. We move now to the climax, the great revelation that closes the central loop of fear, the moment of true surrender. The greatest source of anxiety is the relentless, exhausting effort required to maintain a false sense of control over a fundamentally uncontrollable universe. When the anxiety hits its zenith, when the physical symptoms are so overwhelming that the mind shouts, "I cannot take this anymore," that is the precise moment of maximum power. This feeling of being unable to take it is the subconscious demanding that you drop the burden of absolute responsibility for the universe. The realization is this: you are not responsible for holding the future together. The future does not exist. It is a manufactured projection, a ghost realm built from probabilities. The only thing that exists, the only thing you can ever truly influence, is the single fragile frame of the present moment. The profound revelation is found in the physical acceptance of the feeling itself. Instead of trying to push the wave away, you must let it break over you completely. You must voluntarily lower your defenses and say internally or externally, "Yes, I accept this panic. I welcome this trembling. I surrender to this moment of fear. I will not fight the physical sensation. If I must be afraid right now, then I will be the most perfectly, radically afraid person I can be. This is not defeat. It is the ultimate strategic victory. When you stop fighting the feeling, two critical things happen simultaneously. Firstly, you deprive the anxiety mechanism of its fuel, the resistance. Anxiety thrives on the friction created by avoidance. When you remove the friction, the engine sputters. Secondly, and more dramatically, you discover that the feeling, when allowed to exist fully, is finite. It is a wave that peaks and inevitably must break and recede. The physical sensations are intense, yes, devastating even, but they are temporary. Composed of biological chemicals with measurable half-lives, they cannot sustain themselves forever. Close the loops on the primary conflict. The internal war ends the moment you cease believing. The fearful thoughts are instructions. You recognize them as merely information, faulty, often outdated information, based on old programming, but information nonetheless. You close the loop on the feeling of helplessness by taking back the only control you ever had, the control over your response to the present moment. You cannot stop the panic from arising, but you can choose not to layer narrative catastrophe onto the purely physical experience. The moment of climax is the recognition of this internal separation. There is the panic, and there is the immutable core of consciousness that observes the panic. You are not the anxiety, you are the vessel experiencing the anxiety. And that immutable core, that center of awareness, is untouched, unharmed, and perfectly resilient. It is the eye of the storm, always quiet, always available. This understanding shifts the entire paradigm. The terror dissolves not into joyous bliss, but into a profound, exhausted quietude, the silence that remains after a massive internal storm has passed. It is the peace found in absolute honesty. I am afraid, and that is permissible. The intensity drops because the urgency drops. The demand for immediate escape has been replaced by the quiet acceptance of temporary discomfort. The body begins the slow, arduous process of relaxation, not because the mind commanded it, but because the observer ceased the energy-draining work of resistance. The conclusion is swift, the payoff immediate and undeniable. Resilience is not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward while carrying the fear. The true strength is found not in eliminating the alarm system, but in learning to recognize when the alarm is false and choosing to remain steady despite the ringing. The anxiety that felt like a permanent condition is revealed to be a transient state, powerful but temporary, driven by chemistry and narrative, not by intrinsic danger. The final payoff is a quiet, deep conviction that settles into the weary muscles. You have faced the shadow in the light and found it manageable. You have stood in the fire and realized you are not made of paper. The exhaustion you feel is the relief of having dropped the Herculean task of perpetually controlling the external and future world. All the complexity, all the philosophical wrestling, all the frantic searching for a cure boils down to a single essential act, allowing yourself to be exactly where you are, feeling exactly what you feel, without adding the toxic layer of judgment or the destructive imperative to escape. This is the end of the crisis. You have survived the overwhelming wave, and you stand now on the shore, perhaps trembling, perhaps drenched, but undeniably intact. The anxiety does not have the final say. Your quiet, steady presence does. Your specific call to action is this: do not move. Do not look for the next thing to do. Do not reach for a phone or a distraction. Place one hand firmly on your stomach and the other on your chest. Feel the weight of your hands. Now slowly, deliberately, exhale for a count of 6. Then gently inhale for a count of 4. Repeat this pattern 5 times, focusing all your attention, all your being, on the texture of the air as it moves in and out of your body. Let the world outside and the anxious thoughts inside fade back to static. You have done the hardest work. Now simply breathe. Anchor yourself to the rhythm of life, here, now. This is where your power resides.